Hi, this is your host. This is 1 minute. Are you ready? Let's begin. Why did prehistoric tribes bury their dead with tools? Hi, this is your host. This is 1 minute. Are you ready? Let's begin. You carefully brush away dirt and reveal skeleton after skeleton. At first, it seems like a simple burial site, but then you find something strange. Many of the skeletons are buried with tools. Archaeologists found evidence of this in a site called Shar Haglin in Israel. There, a team uncovered a burial cave filled with human bones and dozens of stone tools. But the bones and tools were not mixed together. They believe these tools help the body transform into a spirit when it dies. Similarly, the Maori of New Zealand would place weapons by the side of the deceased. In some cultures, archaeologists have found graves with weapons placed right through the dead person's head. It may have been grave robbers trying to steal valuable goods. These stone hinges doubled as a message to grave robbers. If you disturb this grave, we will curse you. Of course, the idea of a curse didn't stop grave robbing. Sometimes people needed the stuff inside the grave more than they feared a curse. So some groups took extra measures to protect their dead. Or it could have been members of different tribes trying to steal the weapons and tools buried with the dead. These weapons were meant to keep the dead person from rising and wandering around as a mindless, flesh-eating corpse. Other graves have tools placed over the dead person's mouth. These objects served as a kind of plug to keep the dead person's spirit or soul from escaping. These weapons symbolized the warrior spirit that would protect the dead on their journey to the afterlife. Even today, the Inuit of Greenland bury their dead with tools and weapons. They believe that their dead need these items to survive in the spirit world. Instead, the team found the bones in one part of the cave and the tools in another. They believed that the dead needed tools to survive in the afterlife, so they buried their loved ones with the tools they would need on their journey. But there is another explanation. Maybe those tools weren't placed in the ground out of respect for the dead, but to keep the dead from coming back. It looked like the tools were placed in the cave before the people were buried there. Some have weapons by their side, others have knives or axes. What's going on? Why would prehistoric people bury their dead with tools? Imagine you are an archaeologist excavating a prehistoric burial site. The Sunda people of Indonesia would tie a dead person's hands behind their back, effectively keeping them locked up in their own grave. But throughout most of human history, tools were not easy to come by. Our Stone Age ancestors spent countless hours making each tool. They would use a sharp rock to strike a piece of flint until it flakes off. Then they would take that new piece of broken flint and shape it into a blade. The process could take weeks, and the tools weren't always successful. So it was a big deal when someone died and took their tools with them. Today, more than 100,000 years later, we take our razors and smartphones for granted. But there is another explanation. Maybe those tools weren't buried with the person, but rather placed in the ground after the person died. In other words, they went to the library to see if there were similar stories from other cultures. And that's when they found something fascinating. The burial cave wasn't the only place where prehistoric people had buried their dead with tools. In many tribal cultures around the world, the dead were buried with the tools they would need in the afterlife. But why? To answer that question, researchers turn to something they often rely on, the anthropological record. For example, the Dogon people of Mali bury their dead with knives and axes. So it seems likely that prehistoric people did the same thing. After all, no one wants to be disturbed by a zombie apocalypse. In fact, this may explain why some graves have been defaced. It wasn't disrespectful teenagers looking for a thrill. To stop this from happening, some groups built large stone hinges over graves. In the Philippines, for example, the Ifugao people would put spikes through the coffin to keep it from being open. Now, this may seem extreme, but just think of all the effort these people put into protecting their dead. That's 1 minute. See you next time.